Finding a worm in your apple, a hole in your sock, or a scratch on your car are never desirable discoveries. However, when you think about it, things could be far worse. Much worse. Any day of the week, you'd rather have a worm in your apple than any of the terrible, unpleasant, or offensive discoveries in this video. Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. Today we are going to talk about the top 5 scary discoveries in the world. Before we get started with the video, don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. Number 5. A soldier's tragedy. There are numerous tales that are so implausible that they reach the realm of urban legends on an equal footing with fake campfire tales and phony email chain messages. This particular tale has been told in many different ways for a very long time. However, a situation that occurred in 1991 lends validity to the urban legend, which either predicted the terrible event that occurred to Sicht, Gregory Volker, or originated from it. In his capacity as a surgeon in the United States Air Force, Volker served at the RAF Mildenhall Air Base, which is located in the countryside of England. Outside of the village of Kirtling, around 60 miles north of London, he, his wife, and their 2 children made their home in a quaint little cottage. After completing a short tour of duty in Greece, Sergeant Volker returned home to find that his wife and their 2 young children had passed away while he was away. The results of the autopsies indicated that Lori and Volker had passed away as a result of a heart attack, while the children, who were just 2 and 16 months old at the time of their deaths, had died of dehydration several days after their mother's passing. The Air Force had made it a practice to have a representative give a phone call to the Volker family on a regular basis in order to ensure that everyone was doing well. Mrs. Volker informed her audience that she, along with her children, would be traveling to the northern region of England to pay a visit to a relative. After a few days had passed, another phone call was placed to the Volker home, but no one picked up the receiver this time. The Air Force made the assumption that the woman and her children were still somewhere in the northern United States. Number 4. Funhouse of Horrors. Do you remember the iconic scene from the movie Grease where Sammy says, "You're the one that I want"? In it, Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta can be seen singing and dancing inside an ancient funhouse attraction at a fairground. Everything appeared to be a lot of fun. The majority of us have fond memories of these kinds of attractions, such as a mechanized obstacle course that included built-in slides and ball pits. However, I'm willing to wager that not many of us recall a funhouse ride where one of the attractions was a genuine corpse. Where is the enjoyment in that? The proprietors of the New Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach, California, believe it was all in good fun, but they had no idea that the hanging man at their park was actually the corpse of an Old West bandit. Elmer McCurdy committed a rail robbery in 1911 and made off with $43 in cash and a couple of jugs of alcohol. A group of law enforcement officers went in search of him and ultimately ended his life by shooting him. After he was preserved using embalming fluid, none of his relatives showed up to claim his body for burial, so the undertaker made the decision to charge people to see the infamous bandit who would not give up and placed him in a corner of the funeral parlor. After being displayed in various amusement parks and museums across the United States for more than half a century, the escaped convict was finally hanged in a funhouse in Long Beach, where he resided for 4 years. When a member of the team who was filming an episode of The $6 Million Man tried to relocate the prop, that's when he realized that it was actually a real dead guy who was being used in the scene. How? Poor McCurdy's arm was severed, and when it was removed, he discovered a human bone within. Since then, the unfortunate bandit has been laid to rest in Summit View Cemetery in Oklahoma behind 2 tons of cement in order to prevent him from ever again serving as the main attraction in a funfair sideshow. Number 3. London's Forgotten Lady. This tragic account of how those who knew Joyce Carol Vincent seem to have forgotten she existed strikes a chord with everyone who lives alone in a large metropolis because of the universality of the situation. The skeletonized remains of a 38-year-old female tenant who had been deceased for 3 years were discovered by officials from the North London Housing Association when they went to a bedsit in Wood Green. It appeared as though she had not switched off the television, and there was a mountain of Christmas presents in one of the nooks of her living room. During her life, Vincent was an attractive and well-liked woman who enjoyed a successful career, a diverse circle of acquaintances, and the opportunity to rub elbows with a number of notable figures, including Stevie Wonder, Nelson Mandela, and Gil Scott-Heron, amongst others. After quitting her well-paid job at a huge international firm one day, she gradually withdrew into herself and became more reclusive. She appears to have merely let herself become estranged from everyone who knew her, severing ties with the outside world, and as a result, nobody noticed when she passed away. It has been stated that Vincent had been in a number of abusive relationships, and it has also been suggested that she had suffered from a bad family life as a child. This can help explain to some extent why she would seek seclusion and why she has a fragile mental condition. The fact that this woman, who had made a positive impact on the lives of so many people, was able to just disappear and go unnoticed for so many years is a terrible indictment of the indifference that permeates modern society. Number 2. A corpse in the canopy. The phrase "Walker stumbles across a bone in the woods" is an all-too-frequent preface to the uncovering of some grisly sequence of long-forgotten killings that can finally be put to rest. This is because the phrase "Walker stumbles across a bone in the woods" is a regular prelude. This was not the case in the strange incident that occurred in Germany. During their walk through the woods close to Bruckberg, Lower Bavaria, Sebastian Gunther and Stephanie Bauer came across a human bone that was sticking out of the bushes. Upon arriving at the scene, the law enforcement authorities were unable to locate the remaining portion of the body until they glanced up. Paul Ludwig's body was found hanging from a branch that was located 40 feet up in a fir tree. When Ludwig made the decision to end his suffering from cancer by taking his own life, he left a note for his family that stated, "Don't look for me, you won't find me." And for the next 29 years, they didn't. Ludwig had scaled the tree despite the fact that he had 2 prosthetic hips, before tying himself to a branch, after which he had attached a gun to his body and taken his own life. The authorities presumed that the ropes had tightened around his limbs as the tree grew, forcing them to shear the limb bones and ultimately leading to the long-awaited finding of the body. Number 1. A most politically incorrect building. The swastika is one of the few symbols that evokes strong feelings. The majority of people would only identify the emblem with the Nazis, despite the fact that it was originally a sign of peace in the Hindu religion. Since the swastika was taken over by the repressive dictatorship, the word has come to be associated with both evil and oppression. Since the defeat of Hitler's army, the swastika has been adopted as a symbol of extremism by far-right organizations. In the 1970s, it was also adopted by English punks as a symbol of anarchy and worn for its shock effect. This most reviled emblem is now visible from the air, courtesy of Google Earth. It can be found embedded in the structure of a facility in California that is owned by the United States Navy. The United States Navy has made the decision to investigate the possibility of reshaping the offensive structure in response to substantial public indignation and questions raised by the Anti-Defamation League. However, it was determined that the proposed costs, which range anywhere from $625,000 to $40 million, was too excessive. The building is still standing today, and despite the fact that it was not designed to be objectionable in any way, one cannot help but be startled when they see a gigantic stone swastika looking back at them from American land. That's a wrap on the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.